The 56th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum convenes the foremost leaders from government, business and civil society from the 19th to the 23rd of January 2026. Now, under the theme, A Spirit of Dialogue, Davos 2026 provides an impartial platform to connect leaders to confront shared challenges and drive innovations defining the future. Arise business correspondent Rotus Odiri is live from Davos with a preview on this. Good morning to you, Rotus. Day one is certainly in full gear from what we see, so I'm sure you have lots to update us on.
Yes, good morning, Abby. Good to be with you. Good to be all our viewers out there here in Davos. Indeed, there's a whole lot to get into with respect to what's been going on this week. Of course, spirit of dialogue is the theme. There's been a bit of cynicism around that. But I mean, as I spoke with Rolake about earlier today, if it's not dialogue, what is it going to be, Abby?
Absolutely. That's a very important question. It's a good place to start, of course. As you mentioned, the spirit of dialogue is the theme for this year, and it's expected that leaders will drive this dialogue, a quite ironic theme, where, as you've highlighted earlier, you and Rolake. But who are some of the political leaders expected at Davos this week?
Yeah, so, I mean, Rolake and I spent a lot of time talking about Trump and the fact that, he is, I guess, the major highlight of the week. And, again, I've been a bit flummoxed, as other analysts have been, about his focus on affordable housing in the United States here in Davos for an international audience. Rolake linked it to investment, which is a decent argument. But, the housing shortage in the United States is, it's a supply issue. So how do you, build more homes? At the same time, Trump is trying to keep interest rates down. So, what is the incentive for those who are in that particular market? So, hey, I mean, he's going to bring here, I think he will likely talk about some other things since, he's at the center of so much that is going on, from Greenland to Venezuela to Iran, even home in Nigeria, new visa restrictions. There's just so much that affects so many people around the world. So he'll be front and center. Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, she, of course, will be here as well. The EU has a lot to discuss. Inflation is coming down, at the 2% target for them. Christine Lagarde has talked about that. But for her, it's going to be a lot about diplomacy, this Greenland issue, these latest tariffs that have been levied against a number of European nations from President Trump. So Ursula von der Leyen will have her hands full as well here with a lot to discuss. Kashim Shettima, Vice President of Nigeria, flagging off the Nigeria House, the significance of that, the significance of visibility, the significance of being able to, form new partnerships. A lot of people who will be, trooping into the Nigerian House to get a taste of our culture and so much more. That's going to be what he will be focused on as a leader here, flying Nigeria's flag along with the delegation that's joining him, Wale Edun, Finance Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Then you got Volodymyr Zelensky. He was here last year. You should have seen the security around him when he was arriving. It was pretty heavy considering where things are. Dialogue, Abby. We've been having dialogue now for, I think we're going on 4 years now. Is it 5 for this war, this invasion of Russia in Ukraine? So Zelensky is going to be here. Dialogue, talking to try to get more support, or rally support for, peace talks going forward. So, and it's not just those four. I mean, there's so many more. There's Javier Milei of Argentina will be here. I think Pedro Sanchez of Spain. You've got Gustavo Petro of Colombia. There are going to be a whole number of other leaders here discussing a lot. So it's going to be packed as far as political leaders are concerned.
Right. So it sounds like quite the lineup there. And of course, as you mentioned, some very pertinent issues on the horizon there. Of course, we hope that dialogue, in turn becomes action. So we don't have a repetition of a talk shop, so to say. Now, we understand that prominent leaders of international organizations will also be present as well. Who can we expect to hear from?
Yeah, so I mean, you have to have these international organizations because they play such a key role, linking, policy from heads of states and having that link, fed through and distilled down to, everyday people across the world. So AJ Banga, president of the World Bank Group, he is going to be here. What does the World Bank do? The World Bank provides financing. The World Bank has been instrumental in Nigeria scaling solar energy. That's $750 million funds that they provided to Nigeria, helping get more Nigerians on the grid. I think it was about 1,711 megawatts that was imported through solar panels into the country last year. So, that's very important. You see the role the World Bank is playing. Then you've got the World Trade Organization. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is going to be here. There's a lot of conversation around how the WTO seems to have been sidelined with all the trade tensions that are going on. Most recently, Trump announcing this latest round of tariffs on Europe. I should point out for our viewers that there is a pending Supreme Court opinion about those tariffs and whether or not they are legal. So he's still wielding it as a big stick. Question is whether or not, they will stand. So WTO, World Trade Organization, they want a multilateral world with lots of, interlocked relationships between countries. Trump wants something that's more bilateral, one-on-one relationships. So that, of course, we'll be looking forward to hear from Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala later this week. And then, the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, much like the World Bank, providing lots of finance to countries around the world, assisting them in getting their fiscal structure, fiscal house in order. So, she will be part of that. And then Mark Rutte, we've talked a lot about NATO, about how this Greenland issue seems to be upending the relationship between, the United States and NATO. The show of solidarity with, French troops and others going to Greenland to try to show solidarity with Denmark. So Mark Rutte, who of course was Prime Minister of the Netherlands for quite a number of years, he of course will be looking forward to hearing from him this week. So these international organizations, from the World Bank to the WTO to the IMF to NATO, they've all got a lot on their respective plates.
Absolutely, certainly a lot to look forward to that. Now, the World Economic Forum is a future-focused forum, as we know, Rota, so we can expect a lot of technology and the impact of AI to be part of the discourse this year. But who are some of the leaders in innovation that we can expect to hear from specifically?
I don't know if I'll get into trouble by saying this is probably my favorite set of leaders that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, we of course have our eye on tech every week on the Global Business Report and Horizon News, where we focus on technology. So yeah, what is AI going to do to jobs in the future? We are using AI at the Arise Studios, and we know the impact it's had in terms of what we used to pay for certain things and how that's been taken over by artificial intelligence. And so Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, the most valuable company on planet Earth, touched $5 trillion last year, eased a bit to about $4.4 trillion, still the most valuable company in the world. He's in the geopolitical space as well, because the United States has been, working with NVIDIA to give it permission for its H200 chips, whether or not those can be exported to China. I should also mention He Lifeng is also here as well, Vice Premier for China. He will be in Davos as well, so China is represented. So there's that dynamic with how NVIDIA is, I wouldn't say being used as a chess piece, but it's pretty important in terms of the leverage that the United States is trying to have over China. Then Satya Nadella of Microsoft, he also is going to be here as well. Microsoft, of course, a key player in the AI space, I think one of the biggest investors in OpenAI, who are, of course, makers of ChatGPT. So he is going to be talking tech, and they've been very focused a lot on Microsoft Copilot and how that can be used as a more effective AI assistant in helping out with formulas in Microsoft Excel, presentations in PowerPoint, and also Microsoft Word. So he'll be there. And then very interesting, Dina Powell McCormick. She was just appointed as president and vice chair at Meta. And this is a lady who has spent 16 years at Goldman Sachs in very senior positions, has lots of access to pools of capital, but also she was in U.S. President Trump's, she used to be in his cabinet as a deputy national security advisor for strategy. Trump, in fact, praised McCormick's appointment by Meta, saying it was a very good choice for Mark Zuckerberg to do that. As you know, the tech players, they've been trying to curry favor with the president. But, Dina McCormick, she comes, she's pretty well experienced. So she's going to be here. And I think it was just 6 days ago that Meta announced her being appointed. So she's going to, speak to a lot of folks around here, try to, garner some relationships with Meta. Meta is spending a lot of money of its capital expenditure in terms of trying to build out AI. We were, talking earlier about energy, and I think they signed a deal to build about, some nuclear plants to try to supply energy to data centers. So Meta is spending a lot of money. They want to be able to get approvals to do this across the country. So Dina McCormick is going to play a pretty important role. And Sarah Fryer, she's the chief financial officer at OpenAI. OpenAI, of course, as you know, makers of ChatGPT. There are a lot of concerns around artificial intelligence. I mean, we saw what happened with Grok just, a week or two ago, where it was, without being prompted, sharing explicit images of people and even underage folks. And so that's led to it being banned in Indonesia, Malaysia. It's facing a probe in the UK. So Sarah Fryer, she's going to have her hands full discussing the safety. I mean, OpenAI doesn't have that issue. ChatGPT doesn't have that issue. That's a Grok issue, which of course is under the XAI umbrella. But that is still going to be a topic that the tech folks are going to be discussing here, plus a whole lot more at the World Economic Forum here in Davos.
Well, it's safe to say that the key role players in the tech world are in Davos. And of course, there's so much more to look forward to. And undoubtedly, this is a lineup that you particularly, Rotas, will certainly enjoy. Now, you mentioned Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima earlier. What is the focus of the Nigerian delegation in Davos this year, particularly?
Yeah, so the Nigerian delegation, in addition to Vice President Kashim Shettima flagging off the Nigeria House, Rolake Akinkugbe-Filani, of course, earlier in the show was talking about the importance of visibility, the importance of Nigerian culture being seen. I remember last year, remember myself and a member of our technical team, Ivika, we went to the Mongolian House. We got, they had Mongolian, I think, vodka. They had, cashmere sweaters. They had their, culture being displayed outside the Mongolian House. So it was a really great experience for us to just experience Mongolian culture and understand. We even had an interview with a member of their economic team. So essentially, that is what the Nigerian House wants to replicate in terms of, showing off Nigerian culture and putting Nigeria on a world stage that's visible to everyone. And then also its investments. Nigeria is going to be talking about reforms. Nigeria is going to talk about the reforms that it went through in 2023, how that is important for attracting investment. And of course, just to mention the delegation, of course, is Vice President Kashim Shettima, Minister of Finance Wale Edu, Minister of Trade and Investment Dr. Jumoke Oduwole. They will also be looking at how to, of course, garner more investment for Nigeria. So a lot there for the Nigerian delegation to go through this week.
Right, a lot to look forward to there, Rotas, from the World Economic Forum there in Davos. Thanks for having boots on the ground, and we certainly will keep our ears to the ground during the course of this week. I'm sure you'll have as many updates for us. Many thanks for joining us.